I was born into a world of light and sound, but I did not remember it for long. My memories of that time are like fragile whispers fading into silence and shadow. I was a child of 19 months when the fever came. A wave of darkness swept over me, and when it left, the world was gone. I reached for my mother and found only warmth and trembling hands. I cried out for voices that never came again. I tried to see faces that melted into nothing. The sun rose and fell, but I knew only the shape of its heat upon my skin and the chill that came when it slipped away. I lived in a cage built of silence and blindness, a small creature clawing at a world I could no longer touch. I screamed and struck and felt the despair of being unseen, unheard, unknown. I was lost in a storm with no compass, no star, no shore. My family loved me, but they could not reach me. They stood outside the walls of my darkness, calling my name over and over, a sound I could never hear. I remember the day, and Sullivan came like a flicker of light beneath a door. She entered my life with hands that spoke and a heart that never gave up. She was so young, and yet so full of faith. She took my hands in hers, and I felt something I had never felt before: intention, purpose, warmth. She began to shape my fingers into letters, pressing them into my palm. Water. She spelled. I felt the cool stream run over my hand as she spelled it again and again: water, water. And then in one miraculous moment the darkness cracked. I felt meaning rush through me like lightning. I understood that every object had a name, every name had a sound, and every sound had a soul. That moment was the birth of my mind. I had found language, and through language I found the world again. I could touch words, and through them I could touch everything I could not see or hear. But now I could think, I could dream, I could know. I learned with a hunger that burned within me. Each word was a window, each thought a sunrise. I devoured books through my fingers, feeling the world pour back into me, page by page, idea by idea. And was my light, my bridge, my angel. She stood beside me as I learned to speak with my hands, and later to speak with my voice. Though I could not hear it, I could feel its vibration like a pulse of life rising from within me. I learned to read lips with my fingers, tracing the movements of mouths. I could not see. The miracle was not that I spoke, but that I was understood. When I was accepted at Radcliffe College, I faced a storm greater than the one that took my sight. I stood among those who could see and hear, and I was afraid, yet I refused to surrender. My blindness was not a prison anymore, it was a challenge. I studied philosophy, history, literature, languages. I read every book with my fingertips until they bled, but I never stopped, because each word brought me closer to the vastness of the human spirit. I learned that the world is full of invisible beauty, that sight and sound are not the only ways to perceive, that there are deeper senses born from love and thought and courage. I learned that darkness is only another kind of light, that silence is another form of song. My blindness and deafness were not curses, they were pathways to understanding what truly matters. As I grew older, I felt the weight of responsibility. Knowledge is a gift that demands to be shared. I began to speak to others, though I could not hear their applause or their tears. I felt their hearts through the stillness between us. I spoke for those who had no voice. I traveled the world, touching faces of kings and beggars, children and soldiers, the poor, the broken, the strong. I felt their stories flow into mine, and I realized that my journey was never about overcoming blindness. It was about helping others see. The world was not always kind to me. There were those who doubted me, who believed I was a puppet of others' words, who said a deaf, blind woman could not think or dream or speak her own truth. But I had long stopped listening to the limitations of others. I knew what lived inside me, a will stronger than darkness, a fire that no silence could smother. I remember the first time I stood before a great crowd. My heart trembled. I could feel the vibration of their footsteps, their breaths held as I began to move my lips. The air carried words I could not hear, but I could feel them rise from my soul like a tide. I spoke of courage, of education, of compassion. I told them that blindness is not in the eyes but in the heart, that the worst kind of blindness is when we see yet refuse to understand. I became a voice for the forgotten. I stood for the rights of the disabled, for the poor, for women, for those who lived in shadows. I joined movements for peace. I believed that the world could be changed not by sight or sound but by empathy. I walked through cities, across oceans, met leaders and dreamers. I placed my hands upon their faces and learned that humanity is one great heartbeat, beating through every language, every nation, every life. Through all the years, and never left me. Her hands aged, but her strength never faded. When she passed, a silence deeper than any I had known filled my heart. Yet I felt her with me, always her spirit in every word I signed, every letter I traced, every child I inspired. She had been the light that guided me, and even after she was gone, that light continued to burn within me. Sometimes at night I would sit by the window, feeling the breeze move across my face. I could not see the stars, but I felt them shining through the wind. I thought of all the people who lived with pain, who thought their darkness was the end. I wanted to tell them that it is not the end. It is the beginning, that within every shadow, there is a hidden dawn waiting for the courage to rise. To see. If you asked me what it is to see, I would tell you it is not what your eyes perceive, it is what your heart understands. I have seen kindness in the touch of a friend. I have seen beauty in the rhythm of raindrops against my skin. I have seen love in the silent embrace of those who believed in me. I have seen more in darkness than many ever will in light. My story is not one of tragedy but of transformation. I was not saved from blindness. I was reborn through it. I found meaning where others found despair. I found joy in discovery, hope in struggle, and peace in persistence. Every barrier I faced became a teacher, every defeat a doorway, every silence a song waiting to be heard. I have learned that we are all blind until we open our hearts, and we are all deaf until we learn to listen to the voice within that whispers of possibility. And courage, the true miracle, is not that I learned to speak, but that others learned to listen, that they saw not my disabilities but the boundless spirit behind them. As I grew old, I watched the world change. Inventions, voices, machines, all connecting people across distance and time. I could not see these wonders, but I could feel their impact. I knew that humanity was learning to reach beyond itself. I prayed that my life had helped even a little, that my words had touched some hidden corner of despair and turned it toward light. Now when I think back to that child lost in silence, I want to reach out and hold her, tell her not to fear, tell her that one day she will speak to millions, that her darkness will become her greatest gift, that what seems like the end is only the first step toward awakening. My name is Helen Keller, and though I live without sight and sound, I have seen the world more clearly than most. I have heard the music of the soul in the silence of the heart. I have felt the power of love as it breaks through every barrier. I have walked through darkness and found that it glows. I have lived a life beyond blindness, beyond silence, beyond fear, and I have learned that the only true blindness is the inability to see the beauty of being alive. And if you listen closely, beyond the noise of the world, beyond the clamor of doubt, you will hear it too, the soft voice of courage whispering through every heart, telling us that even in the darkest night the human spirit shines brighter than any star.